of us, many of us in our lives are so scared of silence. I know I was when I first started this path. I couldn't bear to be alone. I think the first time I was ever alone in my life was at the age of 39, and I just started meditation for 4 years. And even after 4 years, my husband went on his first trip, my kids were in boarding school. First time been in a home alone for 10 days. And of course, in those 10 days, we had the worst storms. I lived on the 8th floor Marina Court, where the wind would blow like it was howling. In those days, I was still into seeing ghosts and scary stuff, which I don't see anymore and feel anymore. And so I was like petrified. I couldn't, even though I meditated for 4 years, I still couldn't be alone in the house. And that trip that my husband went away for 10 days was the greatest teaching in my life, because I realized meditation was not enough. You know, I needed the awareness of how much work I had to do in my mind, that I still had fear of the unknown. And though I was trying to connect with the unknown, which is my higher self or consciousness, how could I connect with that if I couldn't even bear the sound of silence and be on my own? Yes, I could meditate in the daytime because I knew my husband would come back in the evening. Do you know what I'm saying? So when he came back, they were the 10 most incredible days in my life. I didn't sleep for 4 because I was filled with fear, with all the lights on the first 4 days. The 5th day, I just said, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? I'll die. That's the worst. And I went to sleep. And after that, I started to realize real silence is when we drop a lot of our attachments. And those attachments, I realized that I had were just simple fears that I hadn't realized that were still deep inside of me. And of course, with this realization, I renewed my inspiration to make my meditation deeper in the form of more contemplation. More contemplation about myself. What to heal in myself. What was it that there I am meditating to be silent, and I'm really not silent? What's going on here? It was a paradox. It was a confusion. Yes, I was connecting with the higher. Yes, I was feeling better. Yes, I was much happier than I ever was. But I hadn't really got it yet because I couldn't be in silence. And this is the journey that really, this awakening. And this is what happens to many people. We start spiritual practices and we think, I'm really progressed, I've gone so far. And so I knew that I hadn't, and that re-inspired me to work. So the next step I had to learn, which I realized, was real silence. Real silence. And what was real silence? And why was I frightened, and why did I have all these fears? Because they came from my thoughts. They came from my very own thoughts. My very own thoughts and my very own fears from my past. And many of the fears maybe I didn't even experience in this life, but maybe some other life, because I don't know where they came from. And I realized the only way that I could really eventually ever find peace or silence was to deal with all these issues. So I asked myself, where's the fear coming from? Where's the anguish coming from? Because while that's all going on, there will never be silence. So my next work with myself was, first, it was double. 2 jobs, parallel. 1, rediscover the deep fears and learn to overcome them. And take my time so that they're really purged. Not to rush, not to think just because I've had 6 great months or 4 great years that there was no more to do. And the second great lesson I had learned was, I'm excited. I want to know that freedom of real silence, the real silence. There's a story in our Sanskrit scriptures. There was a great guru called Dakshinamurti. And disciples, there were 4 great disciples all over the world. And they thought they must go and see him. He lived in the Himalayas. So the 4 disciples went to visit him. And when they got there, they asked, Master, please teach us. And they looked at each other, and they just sat, and they sat, and they sat. And after a few days, they got it. That was the teaching. Learn to be in silence. And with that silence comes great peace. Great peace. In the Bhagavad Gita, and some of us covered it over the weekend, there's one sloka, one verse that talks about, the yogi understands action in inaction. Inaction in action. What does that mean? So while you're acting, as we all have to work in the world, we just have to be in the world, because even if you say, I don't want to be in the world and I want to run away, you still have to be in the world. You still have to eat, you still have to dress yourself, you still have to bathe, you still have to do something. So while we're in the world, in the action, our lesson is to learn how to be so silent, so quiet within. So even though the mind is all over the place and you're working very quickly, maintain that deep silence. And sometimes when we are in silence, in meditation, there is a lot of action. Isn't it true? But the yogi understands this in the deep silence. There are all these thoughts that come out when you first start to meditate, and maybe even for years to come. But you watch all that action in that mind, even though your body looks like it's in action, it's actually, there is a lot of action. But in watching that action, you disconnect. You totally disconnect from it, because you start to understand that you are the witness, you are consciousness, you are your body, your mind is the temple that houses the spirit. You actually are God's temple. So you can watch all the nonsense that's going on in the temple and learn to step back from it. And with that, even with all the action, there is inaction. Some people call it transcending the mind. Others call it going even deeper into your spirit and consciousness, knowing you're one with all. And this human instrument is just that, an instrument. Our guru said something that, really made me think. Somebody asked him who he was, and he said, you guys call me a guru, and you call me this, and you call me that. I know who I am. You guys make me a guru, or make me an avatar. He said, I am just a flute that allows God to play me. And I love that. I just love that. I'm just a flute, and I allow God to play me, or consciousness to play me. Beautiful words, but how do you achieve the reality of these words? How do you achieve it? And I, often think, when there's so many thoughts coming, and I go, what is playing me? What is happening now? And it's been so easy for me much easier now than ever, to make quick decisions in my life because of this silence. Because it helps us to distinguish your mind from your spirit. But before you distinguish the mind from the spirit, there is a time that you will go through great paradoxes and great doubts and great fears. You have to allow those doubts, those fears to come to you rather than push them away, because those thoughts and those fears and those doubts are divine. They come to you to purge it out. So really the demon is ourselves and nothing else. So the inaction in action is when you can see the demon is outside of you and not you. Then you can easily purge and eliminate those thoughts that you don't want. As easy as it is to delete something, an email you don't want to read, a nasty email, just delete it. Sometimes what we do is we get the nasty email or something that's unpleasant, and we're scared of it. We don't want to face it. You can either delete it or you can read it and become detached from it. Now this is the hard thing for mankind to do. We get involved in it. And the silence is not that the noise stops, it's that you become still. As the Psalms say, be still and know that I am God. So how do you maintain this stillness? I like to say here, because that's where I feel it, and that's why the Asians say the seat of our soul, the seat is right here in this chakra here, your belly button, where we are connected. And when you die, they talk about the silver cord that's connected to the body until the silver. You know about the silver cord, do you? Mm-hmm. We're connected until the silver cord is severed. Then our soul is allowed to fly. They call it the silver cord because it's what that connects the soul to the body. And what happens when the baby is born? Where do they cut? The umbilical cord. That's where we come from. That's the magic. So when you're in these sounds, when you are still in yourself, you can see the action of the world, and your opinion or not your opinion starts to fall apart. You start to see that your opinion really has no relevance. Your fear has no relevance. It's kind of like Surya said this morning in his pose for reflection on GBC, if you heard it. He said, if you look at the sky and the planets above and look down at yourself, you're just like a tiny dot. And this is where the silence then starts to happen. And that's when you start to feel a little free. And that's when you really enjoy your human existence. Because the silence has to come from within you. And in order to feel that silence, you need, because to work on your fears will take many, many, many years. So while you're working on your insecurities, your fears, etc., you are building up on your divine connection at the same time. The two parallel practices that I was trying to explain to you, going on at the same time. So constantly, as your mind is in fear, because it takes time to work anything out, you keep telling yourself all the time, I am consciousness, I am divine. And if you can't deal with that, say, I am a child of God. I'm a child of the universe. I'm part of consciousness. Whatever you find easy in your language to make you more than one person, to make you more than your human personality, to expand you that you are part of everybody else, because that's the truth. Now, your knowledge will tell you that we're one consciousness, but your inner consciousness will not understand it. It takes years to dissolve into your cells and to really understand it. So knowing intelligently that this will take time, you build up the witness in you, the higher self in you. Some people will do it by prayer. Others will do it by meditation. But know what you are doing when you are meditating. The awareness is what you need to get in connection with. That silence. And ask yourself in your life, are you comfortable being alone at any time? Are you fearful? Can you bear the silence? Or do you constantly need noise, music, something around you all the time, people around you all the time? If you do, and you've been meditating for years, please look at yourself and go a little bit further. Because you are not near. Because having to want all those things around you shows that you are deeply attached. And when the time comes when they have to separate themselves from you, as all life, we're all one, but we're all separate at the same time. You see, this is the paradox of our existence. It's the paradox, and it will always be there. So start to free yourself from those attachments. And of course, the practice that I constantly ask you all to do is neti. Is this really mine? Nothing is mine. Everything is on loan. It is a really important practice to do. Because if you don't, you keep thinking, this is mine, my home, my children, my husband, my wife, my partner, my mom, my dad. You cannot exist in this world without fear. You cannot. You'll be so frightened, and the practice will give you the strength to do whatever you have to do now, this minute, even though something else is going on that is traumatic somewhere else. You can still be still in the noise. And that's the gift. That's the human gift. Because problems will never stop, guaranteed. I can promise you this for the rest of your life. One thing comes, another thing comes. As Gurudev said, how many waves come to the shore? They never stop. They never stop. The waves never stop coming. Problems will never stop coming. Something to do will never stop coming. So the practices, developing yourself by understanding, am I really frightened to be alone? Oh my God, and I think I've achieved something. I really need to work on myself. And this is the enthusiasm that you get, the inspiration, because you have the knowledge that one day we are all going to leave the earth. But why I may be practicing the meditation, but I'm not practicing the knowledge and the contemplation of what I'm really feeling. So while things are good, you manage perfectly. But then when something happens that's disastrous, you fall apart. You just fall apart. And this problem and that problem. And every time, and go, why? I've done all these practices. Because you haven't really. You haven't really. And the signs is you need noise around you all the time. Okay, that's one big sign. You need somebody around you all the time. Another big sign. That's what I learned at the age of 39. This was my downfall. So the next thing I had to learn is I need to learn how to be alone. I'm so glad I had so many years of practice, because really when my husband died for the first time in my life, I was really alone for a long period of time, because I don't want to, as you know, Surya, you don't want to, and Chandra, you don't want to infect your children's life by being needy. You want them to be independent and have their own lives. So you learn, and then to know, oh my God, in this pain there is this kind of silence. There's a silence. There is a peace. Oh my God, how did this happen? How do people do it without the knowledge? It's 29 years or whatever it was of practice. And deep, deep, deep contemplation. And this is why we study the Gita, and that's why we study the sutras. So you have a toolbox to open up, to know, what am I not working out in myself? What do I need to fix in myself? So then what do? You start simply. So you take yourself to a quiet place, and the sound of silence connects you with anybody that is suffering from a deeper place, so deep inside of you that you don't even have to say the prayer. The prayer is said for you. So I may not go into a room and go and do the Om Dhamma Gams, the whole one, but in like a split second behind my consciousness, I hear the whole thing going on. And while I'm talking now, I can hear the prayer going on. And how did that happen in this one body? Because it's not my body, you see. I now connected with consciousness, the sound of silence. And that is connected with everyone and everything, because we're all one. Because I'm not connected with I want, I'm Nalanie, I need, I better just take the next flight out, panic, No, I'm not connected with Nalanie. I can disconnect from Nalanie. And that is the secret of life. Because really I'm not Nalanie. She's just borrowed, for a little while to learn some lessons that we have here on earth to learn, and then to move on to the next body or to the next dimension. Who knows? I don't even ask anymore. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. It's not ours, really. It isn't ours. No. We don't know anything. And that's one thing great. Many years ago, I heard Gurudev was saying that they went for a conference with all the great leaders from all the great traditions, and it came to the turn of the Zen monk. Everybody spoke a little bit, and it came to the turn of the Zen monk, and the monk came up. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything. Sat down. And he said everybody got up and applauded. And that is the truth, really, isn't it? It's quite a joke. We can know and know and know and know. And you can know and know and know and know. No, you know nothing until you experience silence. And then you understand why the Buddhas say, it's everything and it's nothing. Because at some place, it's nothing, right? Sometimes it's just nothing. You think there's no God, there's nothing. And at other times you feel it's everything. And then that's exactly what it is. It's nothing and it's everything. That's exactly what it is. It's no thing, particular thing, but it is everything. And that's when your attachments to yourself, to your fears, to your joys, to your pleasures, your displeasures, start to leave you. It starts to leave you. When it starts to leave you, then it's easier to let everybody else go. But you have to let it go first. You have to let yourself go first. You cannot do it by trying to let somebody else go first. You have to let you go first by knowing you don't belong to you. And that's the task of silence. In that silence, there is everything. So before when you practice, going to a deeper level of practice, I'm talking about a very deep level of practice now, and many of you here in this room are practitioners for many, many years. And the time now is to move forward. You need to move forward. What is it that I really need to look at? And when you get those experiences of just sitting there and this complete bliss takes over you, then know that is Satchit Ananda. You're in a feeling of truth. You're living your life truthfully. Chit, in consciousness, you are aware of your actions. You are aware of your life. You are aware of your circumstances. Ananda, you're in bliss. So even though the mind tells you everything is going on, you are in truth, knowledge, bliss. And with that comes great courage. It comes great courage to be who you are and not fearful of being talked about or gossiped about, or whether people like you or not. Because we spend an entire lifetime feeling guilty about everything because we're so worried, because people have, or society has put all this guilt and fear on us, and we are so happily swallowing it. Then we realize there's nothing. There's no such a thing as all these things: fear, guilt, worry. It's all the mind stuff. It's all we picked up from all these lifetimes. And we just come here we're in a university, a great, great university, where we are so lucky to be surrounded by so many people who can love, who can care, who can be human. So while we're in the human planet of human beings, the silence comes even stronger when we connect with that consciousness and use this flute, this instrument, to just work with humanity. Just to work, because it consciousness separated itself into zillions of pieces, multis, and we'll never know with the galaxies there around, to allow some kind of experience. Some kind of play. And when people go, oh, why is the world like this, and go, okay, let me ask you one question. Would you rather be dead? Would you rather have never known your child, or your husband, or your wife, or your mother, or your dad, or this one or that? Would you rather not have experienced anything in your life? Name one experience that you say you would love to keep. Oh, I can name many experiences that I would love to keep. Many. So when you start to see the truth that we came to experience, now you know the truth is, it's just an experience, it's just play. We're just here to play, 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 play. And then the silence comes deep into your soul, into you. You are silence. You are silence. So we have a twofold practice here, a practical one, and one, they're both practical, but one is attaching and studying and letting go, and the other study is consciousness. The Jnana Yogi's question, who am I? What am I? The higher practice. Work them both at the same time. Every day, as much as you can. Every time you get something that hits you and go, why does this happen to me? Get there. Stop right there. It's happened because there's something I need to learn from this. Thank you for happening. Now just give me a solution quick. That's loving, that's kind. Just give me a solution quick. And it will come quick. It will come quick. Because why? You're connected. So God can play you. Its energy can go through you and give you the answers. You can get the answers because it's empty. It's just willing to grow. It's surrendering. It's surrendering. You are surrendering. You're not holding on to the desires of your mind, my pain, my stress. You're not holding. You're surrendering. This is a pain. Bring it on. I can deal. Because you're in me. I am not alone. I'm not alone. I think the greatest mantra my father gave me was keep repeating every day, God is with me, I'm not alone. Whatever your definition of God. I tell children when they haven't been brought up with any tradition, the Force is, do you believe in the Force? Thank you, Star Wars. I also learned in the early years that I made very strong judgments. Yes, I had a very strong sense of morality. And is that wrong? No, it's not wrong. But it was bad in a way. I thought I was good, but I wasn't really. I was bad because I made judgments about people. Oh, do you know this one? They had an affair with this one, and that one had this one. And do you know, that judgment made me very sick. Very, very sick. And I'm not saying that some behaviors are not correct and they cause a lot of pain, but that is the punishment for those people, because whatever you put in, they will get it. I don't need to judge them. You know what, I have met many of these people in my life who come and see me and done what they feel are horrible things and have a lot of guilt, but when I speak to them in the privacy of my room and my office, I do not see horrible people. I see just people who didn't have the knowledge, who was in ignorance, and because of the ignorance they suffered, they made mistakes. Did that make them bad? No, it didn't. And is there a way out? There is always a way out. And through these people I learned, oh my God, never judge a book by its cover. Don't make these harsh judgments. Of course, if it's an old yogi who's been practicing for many years, boy, will I bang you down. Because you should know better. Do you know what I'm saying? If you have the knowledge and you choose to use the knowledge to harm someone, that is not acceptable. Do you agree? But when you don't have the knowledge, that's different. Then you need to teach those people. You know, instead of judging them, we need to teach them. We need to serve them. We need to look after them. And this brings me back to a story that Gurudev told us many, many years ago. He said when his Master Shivananda had asked him to open an ashram in Sri Lanka, he did. And what he did is, you know, he got all kinds of people like Lord Jesus, you know, the crooks and the thieves, and like Mother Teresa, right? And he took them all in, and he would take them to the Hindu temple because they were Hindus. And the priest there got so angry with him. The priest said, how dare you bring these untouchables, these sinners, these people into our temple? You know, you're degrading our temple by bringing all these people in. And then he goes to the priest. He said, the people who have the knowledge, they can pray at home. They can pray anywhere. These people are the ones that really need the temple, and you are throwing them out. It's truth, isn't it? And this is where I realize that judgment sometimes stops us from growing ourselves. When we stop other people growing, we stop ourselves growing. So notice that too. Do we have opinions? Yes, of course we have to, otherwise we can't live in this world. Do we have to, sometimes say this is wrong and this is right? Of course we have to. There has to be laws, otherwise there'd be chaos. But like Lord Jesus said, judge the sin, not the sinner. And I tell people, they say, this was really evil. I said, no. The mind is really sick. Try and change your vocabulary. Try to think the mind is really sick. So if the mind is really sick, how do you deal with a sick person? You see, with a sick person, when they're sick, you give them medicine, right? Here, when the mind is sick, we just insult them and say horrible things. That's not the medicine they need. They need the right kind of medicine for a sick mind. And today, thank God, there's so much awareness in mental illness, because I have met so many mentally sick people in my life that really could have been helped instead of drugged up and put into a home where they never have a chance in hell to find even a bit of heaven on this earth, because they're so drugged up. And with a little love and with a little kindness, many of these people can be healed. Many people. It's just that they're sick minds. And we have to know how to heal a sick mind. You have to give them the right medicine. And if you can't give them the right medicine, find somebody to give them the right medicine. So all this, it disturbs the silence in our minds, our fears, attachment to ourselves, our judgment to the world and to others. To be a real Christian, Krishna, all the same. We have to bring back the humanity, the kindness and the goodness. And that brings in the silence by itself, because now we're not so involved in I, me, mine, but we, us, as a nation, as humanity, as human beings. Yoga is so misunderstood. Yoga just means connection with God or divinity or consciousness. That's all. And if you have done that, you don't need anything else. You don't need to do anything else. And the Gita we studied this weekend as well. The scriptures are as useful to the one who is wise as a reservoir during a flood. Got it? During a flood, you don't need a reservoir, right? So when you've learned the truth, you don't need any scriptures, because the scriptures become you. The scriptures become you. And in the Gita we studied this weekend as well. The unwise study the letter of the scripture and say there is nothing else. There it says it so clearly. In other words, don't look at what you are reading word for word. It's unwise. Live in. We become very rigid. Rigidity cannot take you to silence, because it stops rigid. Gurudev used to give you one more example, and then we'll do some practice. He said it's like an elastic band. This is what you do with your mind and yourself. If you pull the elastic band too much, what will happen? It will break. If you pull it too little, what will happen? No grip. It's not useful. It's not useful. And he said, your mind is there like the elastic band. You stretch it too much, it will explode. If you use it too little, dementia, Alzheimer's, you know all about that, right? And you'll get mental illness. So, what do you do with your mind? And this is why all the great saints and sages and all the intelligent ones tell us service, even Rotary, right? Service above self. karma, yoga. So that's what you do with your mind. And when you do that with your mind, it becomes quite still, because you're connecting with God and God and God and God and God and God and God, and guess what? You're all God. I know it, but you don't know it. And when you know it, then there is the silence of the judgments. The real judgments that hit your mind and you can't sleep at night. I'm not talking about the day-to-day judgments. Like I said, there's a twofold path. You still have to recognize your human duty and your divine duty. And this is what people find so difficult to do, okay? And that's why I love the saying, judge the sin, not the sinner. I love it because it makes it very clear. You don't have to like everyone, but you can love everyone. It's not possible to like everyone. Life is like that. But you can love everyone. You don't have to keep it in your mind. You don't have to push that elastic band. Oh, this person's horrible and they deserve this. No. They do something. Do you know what? Everybody gets what they deserve. Everybody. We just don't need to do anything about that. We just have to focus on that quiet and that silence within.